All right, good morning, traders. Today is June 23rd, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Let's go take a look at some charts today. Hey, before I get started, I want to go over something real quick. Okay, our good friend Rick Sadler over at Hit and Run Candlesticks does swing trading, little day trading. He's going to be having an open house tomorrow. June 24th, 2025, okay? 8:45 to 4:15. All you got to do is get registered. You can use this link right here. You can scan that code, or you can wait for the video, and I will provide the link in the description of the video. So, open house in the Hit and Run Candlesticks trading room. You don't want to miss that. He'll be going over, probably going to be discussing the 3-ace trap, little bit of rounded bottom breakout, blue ice failures. He'll be going over a few strategies, okay? So you might not want to miss that. All right, let's go ahead and get started with some charts today on how I plan to trade SPY. I do have a game plan set up. All right, so let's go ahead and review the game plan. SPY pivot this morning is 594.45. So above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Okay, I got a green erases red entry right over here over 595.95. That is a green erases red entry. I have a red erases green underneath 593.30. Okay, so that's red erases green underneath 583.30. That's an entry. Over 595.95 is a bullish entry up there. I like 4 days till expiration, Friday options on the increments of 5. So in other words, 595 strike, 600 strike, 605 strike, 590 strike. Okay, so I like them either 4 days or 11 days till expiration. Friday options, okay, on the increments of 5. I like them $5 to $15 out of the money. All right, because they're going to provide us with a little less risk, all right? And we're not going to get the performance that we would if we had an in-the-money option, all right, that is 0 DTE, all right? So it's not going to give you the same performance as an in-the-money 0 DTE, but it's going to be a whole lot less risk than taking on a 0 DTE in the money option, okay? Because you get, $2 candle on your 10-minute chart, that could set you down about, you got 10 contracts, that could set you down close to $2,000. So we can't have that, all right? So I like them $5 to $15 out of the money for that reason, okay? So there's the SPY game plan. What else do I like? I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like them when they're breaking away from VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. I like them when they're breaking down and away from VWAP, okay? Not to say that if there's a 10-minute downtrend, okay, let's just take a look at this real quick. Okay, if there's a 10-minute downtrend that originates up here, I will probably look for it to cross the pivot and then enter it right there. If there's a 10-minute uptrend that probably, say it originates here, okay, I will wait for it probably to cross the pivot and then probably enter into it there, okay? So I'm not waiting for green erases red or red erases green. If I have a 10-minute uptrend that's breaking away from VWAP, I am very interested in trading that. Okay, now my perfect scenario is a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that's also inside of a 2-hour uptrend, that's inside of a daily uptrend, that's inside of a weekly uptrend or weekly candles moving up, that's inside of a monthly uptrend, and all of that over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Those are my preferred, that is my preferred setup right there. Okay, a nice stack of uptrends inside of each other. All the way down to the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, okay? All of that over that all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? That's what I'm very highly interested in trading, okay? So let's take QQQ for a second, all right? And let's visit QQQ. Bear with me. QQQ's got a game plan as well. Okay, QQQ pivot, 526.75. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. We have a green erases red entry over 528.65. I have a red erases green entry under 525.60. Okay, so I also on the same note, I like 4 days till expiration Friday options. I like 11 days till expiration Friday options. I like those strikes that are on the increments of 5. They offer a little bit more liquidity because you get a little bit more open interest. All right, I like them. Same thing. I like them $5 to $15 out of the money. Again, less risk, but less performance. All right. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can dig up the morning monologue. Okay, so today is June 23rd, 2025. Thanks for being here. I want to thank everybody out there in digital land, cyber land, podcast land. All right. Thank you so much for following my content. Thank you, Bob Jordan. Love it. Love everybody that follows my content, leaves a thumbs up, likes, nice kind comments. I like all of that. Appreciate all of that. Helps the algorithm to maybe shoot more business my way. We'll see what happens, okay? All of the Fab Five are still in daily uptrend. SPY and FNGB. FNGB made lower lows and lower highs, closing under their traps, but over their 17 EMAs. QQQ made an outside day, closing under a bearish trap, but over the 17. Diamond Dow made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. IWM made an inside day. That's a lower high and a higher low, closing under a bearish trap, but over the 17 EMA. SPY closed with a 2-hour downtrend and a 10-minute uptrend. So I'll be looking for a 10-minute green candle this morning, hopefully for continuation of that last 10-minute uptrend. All right, I won't want any topping wick candles, no spinning tops, no dojis, no red candles. All right, so I'll be looking for continuation of the uptrend started that we left off with on Friday. Okay, gold and silver both in daily uptrends, both made lower highs and lower lows, closing under bullish traps, but over their 17 EMAs. USO is in a daily uptrend, made an inside day closing over a bullish trap and over the 17. UNG made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. US dollar index still in a downtrend, kind of closed very close to where it did on Friday. 98.80 area. SPY Max Pain 600. All right, that's for the SPY options that expired today. Only for the SPY options that expired today. Max Pain is 600 with a put to call ratio of about 1 3/4 puts to each call that expires today. A couple of charts to take a look at. They got a little grinder box breakouts, or they're already in the process of breakouts. We got MAG, OUST, MCHP, and ALGM. All right, those 4 charts are either on their way breaking out or setting up for a nice breakout. Take a peek at those if you're interested in those for a little swing trading. All right, so there's that. Let's go ahead and take a look at some charts this morning. Start with a 10. Let's pick up a blank chart. Okay, let's go to SPY. All right, you can see here at the close here we had a cross, a 10-minute cross. So it was like a 10-minute uptrend into the close on a 2-hour chart. 2-hour downtrend coming into the close on the daily chart. All right, we got a lower high and a lower low. Is that right? I didn't think that closed underneath there. I guess it did. All right, lower high, lower low, correction, closing underneath the bearish trap, underneath underneath the rising 17 EMA. Correction on that one. SPY with the lower high, lower low, closing underneath the 17 and underneath the bearish trap. All right, let's take a look at Weekly chart, or actually 2-day chart. Let's take a look at that. 2-day still in a downtrend because they have not made a higher high yet. Okay, the high to beat is the all-time high. 3-day still in a downtrend. Still got to beat the all-time high. Weekly still in a downtrend, but look at the green trend indicator balls here. Okay, we're moving up. It's in a downtrend, but we're moving up. Same with the 3-day. In a downtrend, but again, we're moving up. 2-day downtrend, but we're moving up. Okay, monthly chart still in an uptrend right there. If we look at this with the quad lines on it, let's take a look at it on the daily chart. You can see price action up there in quadrant 4. That's bullish up there. Okay, closing under the trap and under the 17 is bearish, but we are still in bullish territory. We are still consolidating over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment. All right, we are moving up, holding the higher ground. That's a bullish environment. We are up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, also a bullish environment, making higher lows and higher highs. All right, that's an uptrend, which is always a bullish environment. So there's SPY. Let's take a look at QQQ. QQQ doing the same thing here, okay? A little bit different there. Okay, got lower outside day on QQQ. That's a higher high and a lower low. Closing under a bearish trap, but over the 17 EMA. Under the trap is bearish. Over the 17 is bullish. Over the uptrend line is bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP is bullish. Up here in quadrant 4 is bullish. We're still consolidating over prior consolidation. That's bullish. All right. Still in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. That's also bullish. So here's QQQ on the daily chart. Still bullish up there on QQQ. FNGB. All right, FNGB is a lower high and a lower low. Closing under the trap. Just over the 17 EMA. Under the trap would be bearish. Over the 17 is bullish. Again, QQQ, FNGB, and SPY up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Look at FNGB moving up and holding the higher ground up here in quadrant 4. That is a bullish environment. You may not think it's bullish at this time because you got a couple of red candles and some topping wicks. It's going to take them a while to work through that supply overhead, but they are bullish up there in quadrant 4. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP is bullish, making higher lows and higher highs. Is an uptrend, that's always bullish. Again, we've got price action holding that higher ground. That is a bullish environment up there. Let's take a look at IWM. IWM today, Friday, got an inside day, lower high, higher low, closing under a bearish trap, but over the 17. Under the trap is bearish. Over the 17 is bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, also bullish. Up here at the midpoint, again, we've got consolidation over prior consolidation. That's always bullish. Price action still in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. That's always bullish right there. So not in the upper third, not in the lower third, so just kind of neutral through here for IWM. Still looking good, not very strong, but still looking good. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. All right, for Diamond Dow, we've got, looks like the third day in a row, fourth day in a row, lower high, no, third day in a row, lower high, lower low, closing under the trap. That's bearish underneath the 17, that's bearish, and underneath the uptrend line, also bearish. Up there in quadrant 3, I'm going to call it, I'm going to give it to them. Up there in the upper third, that's still bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP is still bullish. Making higher lows and higher highs, that's still bullish. Price action still moving up and holding the higher ground. Looking close to giving it up. You can see price moves up and over to the right. Okay, anytime you hold the higher ground, that's bullish, all right? You go up, you give it up, all right, like that, go up, give it up, that's neutral, all right? If you can go up and hold that higher ground, that's always considered bullish. Same thing as if you get consolidation over prior consolidation, That's always considered bullish. Okay, uptrends always considered bullish. Anytime price is over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. All right, so there's Diamond Dow. They're bullish up here. All right, not moving up recently, but they did peak out a little, squeak out a little higher high. Here's a high. You can see they squeaked out just a little higher high on Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at our technical indicators. We'll start off with T2122. We spent the day inside the seller's chop zone all day on Friday. Okay, so price action did make a higher high up here, which was interesting. But we also turned around and made a lower low. So we went up and we kind of gave it up. That's just still neutral right there. Okay, see how we went up to the buy zone. We made an appearance, and then we got pushed out the door, spent a little time in the buyer's chop zone, and then finished the rest of the day inside the seller's chop zone. That's T2122. All right, so we made a higher high and a lower low. Don't like that when they go up and they give it all up and more. That's kind of a bearish outlook. All right, T2123. We're underneath the 200 again. Okay, it's kind of neutral right there. We were doing well before. You can see Friday's price action looking like selling from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Okay, we're making on the T2123, we're making lower highs and we're making lower lows now. Okay, so that's a downtrend. But all in all, if you look at price structure, we're still moving up and holding the higher ground. Okay, so you can see price moves up and then over to the right. Don't want to break this area right here. That would be bad. Breaking major support, okay, would be very bad. Okay, I do expect price could possibly pull back to there. I just don't want to break major support. When that breaks, usually it's all over for the bulls when you break major support. Price still moving up and holding that higher ground, just in a downtrend right now these last 4 or 5 days. But let's take a look at price action for T2123. That was a really nice move up. Okay. Another bullish clue is whenever you see bullish gap ups, all right, that aren't filled by the bears, because we got a little gap up here. All right, got a little gap going on here. We have a little gap here that hasn't been filled by the bears. Little gap here, another gap here. Okay, a lot of bullish gaps that have been getting filled by the bears. This gap got filled right there. All right, so you can see price moving up, holding that higher ground. That is a bullish environment on T2123. Okay, like I said, you go up and you give it up like that, that's neutral. All right, but if you can go up and you can hold that higher ground, all right, just like that, that's bullish up there. All right, let's take a look at the same chart on the 3-bar time frame. Okay, you can see we put in 3 more red candle bars. Okay, we're still in an uptrend because there's a high and we made a higher high. So we haven't made any lower lows yet. To make a lower low, they'd have to come all the way down here and take out this low right here. That's a tall order. I don't foresee that happening on the 3-bar chart. We're up over the 200 SMA. That's bullish. All right, I like it when we're up over that 200 SMA. You can see price action has moved up. All right, held the higher ground and then moved up and held the higher ground. All of that is bullish. Consolidation over prior consolidation is always a bullish environment for me. So you get consolidation and then we get prior consolidation. Notice it's over prior consolidation. That's bullish. All right, still bullish up there. We have not broken major support. Price action for T2123. Up over this prior all-time high. It's looking good there. On the daily chart, we're still in a downtrend. We have to take out this high. We have not made a higher high yet, so we have to take out that high in order to negate the downtrend. The good news is we are in a daily downtrend, but if you look at price, see all those green balls right there? That's the 17. Price has not been moving down. It has been moving up as opposed to down. We're caught underneath this 200 SMA. I like the idea that we're possibly consolidating right underneath it. That provides a nice lift if they can get enough spinach. Some mustard, maybe they can pop through that flat 200 up there. That's the daily chart for T2123. Let's take a look at FNGB. Price action, again, doing the same thing that we like to see. It is moving up and holding the higher ground. That's bullish. We're underneath the 200 SMA. I'd rather not see that, but we are waffling back and forth up across it, over it, and under it at the time. As long as we continue to hold this higher ground, I'm still bullish. As long as we still contain consolidation over prior consolidation, okay, that is a bullish environment also. You can see there's consolidation over prior consolidation. We got bullish gap ups that have not been filled here and here. All right, that is a bullish environment. We're up over the uptrend line. That's bullish. Over the pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's also bullish. Okay, so we're still bullish. All right, the outlook may not look good. We've got some geopolitical news that kind of doesn't favor the markets right now. Okay, the markets don't like war. All right, it's just bad business. It's just, that means war means less consumers. Okay, if you got GIs off overseas fighting, or pilots off flying sorties over some foreign country, okay, those are less consumers. Okay, so the market doesn't like war. That's the bottom line. Market loves inflation, but the market does not like war. All right. Let's go take a look at a few other charts. Start off with the XLE. All right, XLE holding the higher ground due to the same probably geopolitical situation. Got a higher low and a lower high, so it's an inside day closing over a trap. Okay, that's bullish. Over the 17 is bullish. Over downtrend line 1 and downtrend line 2, that's bullish. Closing over the all-time high anchored VWAP, also bullish. So acting bullish, not quite in bullish territory, which would be the upper third. Not quite in the upper third yet. All right, this would be the upper third area. Above this line, right up here. This would be the lower third, below this line, down here. So we're kind of in neutral territory right now, just neutral. All right, again, you go down and you give it up, you're neutral. Same thing as if you go up and you give it up, that's neutral. But when you go up and you give it up and more, that's bearish. Okay, so we're right back here. We're back at neutral territory for XLE. All right, let's take a look at USO. All right, it's the U.S. oil fund. Price action up in quadrant 4, definitely bullish. Got a lower high and a higher low. It's an inside day closing over a trap. That's bullish. Over the 17, bullish. Up over this 3-year high anchored VWAP, that's definitely bullish. Up there in quadrant 4 is bullish, making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend. That's always bullish. USO is bullish up here and holding the higher ground for once. All right, looking like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in quadrant 4. Before, we got 4 right now. Okay, let's see if we can top that. Before we went up and we gave it up. Let's see if we can hold the higher ground this time. So there's USO back up in quadrant 4. Let's take a look at UNG. UNG put in a lower high and a lower low. Closing over a bullish trap is bullish. Over the 17 is bullish. Over the 12-month high anchored VWAP also bullish. Got a high here, making a higher high. That's an uptrend. That's always bullish. Up over this uptrend line, that's bullish. Not in the lower third, not in the upper third. So just kind of neutral through here right now on UNG. Like to see them take out that high right there. That would pique my interest if they could take out that high and hold some higher ground with more than just 3 or 4 candles. Okay, like to see a nice 10-day hold up there. That would pique my interest for UNG. All right, let's take a look at gold and silver, both in uptrends. Okay, gold having a pullback, got a lower high and a lower low, closing underneath a trap. That's a little bearish there. Over the 17, definitely bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish, or prior all-time high anchored VWAP. Closing over the uptrend line is bullish. Up in quadrant 4 is bullish. Look at price move up, hold that higher ground. That's always bullish. Showing an inverted head and shoulders here. Looking ready for a pop if they get over this neckline here. So that's gold. That's bullish up there. Silver. Silver got a lower high and a lower low. Closing underneath a bullish trap. That's bearish. But over the 17, that's bullish. Up in quadrant 4, that's a bullish environment. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's a bullish environment. In an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs, that's a bullish environment. Silver is bullish up here in quadrant 4, making higher lows and higher highs. Just remember, 3 days ago, they made a new 12-year high. So this would be Friday. This would have been Wednesday. There's Tuesday. Thursday, we were off. Okay, so there's silver. Let's take a look at SMH. SMH in quadrant 4, that is bullish still. Holding that higher ground is bullish. XLK. XLK, I think they put in a new all-time high. High 243.73. Yeah, I can see some air between that one. So XLK put in a new all-time high about 3-4 days ago. All right, you can see price action moving up, holding that higher ground. That's bullish. Quadrant 4 is bullish. Anytime you're making a new all-time high or a new 12-year high, that's always a bullish scenario. You don't even have to justify it. It's making the all-time high. Says everything that you need to know right there. So there's XLK. XLF. All right, up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Consolidating up here in quadrant 4. Holding the higher ground. That's a long hold. That's nice. XLF is bullish. IYT. IYT up over the midpoint. That's bullish. I like it's moving up, holding that higher ground up here. I don't particularly like this bull flag. Looks kind of sloppy, looking like a double top if you ask me. Not really liking this chart at all, the transports. They are in an uptrend still, making a higher low and a higher high. Failed to make a higher high here, but they're holding the higher ground right here at the midpoint. They're on the bullish side of the midpoint. They're not up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. They are over an uptrend line. I can take that out. Price action not in the upper third, not in the lower third. So just neutral for IYT right there, okay? In order to have a nice, robust rally, you're going to want semiconductors, technology, financials, and the transports up in bullish territory and in an uptrend, okay? So IYT's in an uptrend, it's just not moving up. XLF's in an uptrend, it's not moving up. XLK is in an uptrend and moving up, but the other two are not. So the robust rally has been put on pause for right now. Okay, so there's IYT. So that's why I'm thinking we're probably going to get some consolidation over prior consolidation. Now we're going to probably be testing this 593 area. You can see where we are in the map. All right, I will map that out. Let me fill in the map because we do have some advancements. Okay, so we've already gone back up to here, 605, and we've come all the way down to 603. Okay, the next leg up is back up this way. Okay, overnight we made it up to about 567 right there, but then we pulled back overnight. So with the geopolitical events that have recently happened, we could see ourselves coming back down here to challenge the major support down here. We'll see what happens, but there's a possibility they come down here to 583 and challenge the major support. All right, if these two bottoms don't hold, there's a chance we're coming down here to check out that support area. That would be the major support. That would be the prior consolidation at 583. All right, just letting you know that. Okay, other than that, if we have a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, I'm looking for price to start making advancements back up to 597 and continue its path back up to 605. So that's where we are right now in the SPY map. Okay, so we'll see what happens with that. Let me take that off of there. Got a lot of economic events this week. Let's take a peek at those. All right, let's start off with the dollar. Dollar closed right here. You can see the dollar still in a downtrend, making lower highs and lower lows. Downtrend is great for the markets, all right? For the consumer, it sucks because everything costs more. But for the markets, it means more revenue coming in, all right? So the markets like inflation, all right? Markets also like a weak dollar, all right? Weak dollar does what? Weak dollar, again, for the consumer, consumers don't like weak dollars because your money doesn't go as far. But for the markets, a weak dollar means they're more competitive in the global markets. So whenever a foreign country wants to purchase goods and services from the USA, all right, and we have a weak dollar, that means the conversion rate is going to be lower. And that makes it easier to make that purchase. It makes it more affordable. Hence, it makes us more competitive globally when we have a weak dollar. The Chinese have a very weak currency. Hence, they are very, very competitive globally. It's hard to beat that with their weak currency. Okay, so SPY Max Pain. Okay, you can see we closed yesterday right around the 98.79, 98.80 area. Still in a downtrend. We broke the major support. Okay, and you can see it's now, excuse me, providing minor resistance. Okay, we are in a bear flag underneath the minor resistance right now. Max Pain for SPY today, 600. That's for the SPY options that expire today. And we have 1 3/4 puts to each call. Possible put squeeze on the table. Okay, so we got 1 3/4 puts for each call that expires today. We'll see what happens. On the earnings front, let me refresh this. Okay, so we got some familiar names, but nothing here that's going to move the markets for today. Tuesday, FedEx got 53 billion. Again, familiar names, Carnival. All right, nothing that's going to really move the markets. Wednesday, we got Micron Technology. Okay, so that's tech, so that's going to be in the evening. 136 billion. They're going to report Wednesday evening. Okay, again, more familiar names, but nothing that's going to move the markets. You can see General Mills, Jefferies Financial, Levi Strauss. We've all heard of these companies before, okay, but just not big enough to really move the markets. Thursday, what do we got here? We've got Nike, 87 billion. They're going to report Thursday evening. Okay, not quite 100 billion. Again, more familiar names, but nothing that's going to move the markets. Coca-Cola, again, more familiar names, nothing that's going to move the markets there. Okay, let's take a look at the economic calendar because we got a lot A lot of good stuff coming out, okay? PMI composite flash, 9:45 today. Existing home sales, 10 o'clock. Some Fed speakers tomorrow, all right? We've got Case-Shiller Home Price Index, 9 o'clock. FHFA House Price Index. If we didn't get one home price index, we'll get a second. That also comes out at 9 o'clock. We've got Consumer Confidence at 10. Mr. Powell's going to speak at 10 o'clock. That could move the markets. Again, I don't think there's anything happening unless we've got some certainty as far as trade deals go. I don't think he can do anything until POTUS figures out whether he's putting tariffs on or he's taking tariffs off, or we're just going to have free trade. Okay, I don't think there's much that he can do. Economy's looking good, but you start putting tariffs on things, 10%, 20% tariffs, now you're talking about artificial inflation again. There's not much he can do. He's not going to be able to cutting rates is not going to help the inflation. All right. So again, I don't know what he's going to say, but I don't really foresee much changes. They might put in an EKG. I mean, that'd be a high whip up and then a low whip down, and then wind up right back at the same spot they left off at. All right, for Tuesday when he speaks at 10 o'clock. Again, Wednesday, we got the same deal. All right, he's speaking on Wednesday, 10 o'clock again. Again, I don't see anything changing unless we've got some trade deals completed. I haven't heard any news on that. All right, so if we don't have any trade deals, I don't think there's much that he can do. Maybe he's aware of it and they haven't released it yet. I don't know. That will be interesting because if they are, he may talk about rate cuts. So again, now he's planning on 2 rate cuts, I think, before the end of the year, so that's 6 months left. Again, I don't think he can do anything until we get some trade deals. All right, Wednesday, new home sales, 10 o'clock. Petroleum report, 10:30. That's it. And don't forget, Mr. Powell speaks at 10 o'clock on Wednesday and Tuesday. All right. Thursday, we got durable good orders, 8:30. GDP, that's the main event this week. 8:30. International trades in goods, that's 8:30. And jobless claims, 8:30. Chicago Fed National Activity Index, 8:30. Corporate profits, 8:30 retail inventories, 8:30 wholesale inventories, 8:30 pending home sales index, that's 10 o'clock, and a gas report at 10:30 right there. All right, that's it for me for this morning. Okay, let's go take a look at the pre-market, see if we can make any headway out of what's going on. Okay, 5 minute. I want the pre-market chart on. All right, so we got a bottom here. Still made a lower high and a triple top here. All right, here's the deal. Over that triple top is a hard buy. Okay, if they get over that triple top, 1, 2, 3, that's going to be a buy for me. Okay, under this quadruple bottom, 1, 2, 3, triple bottom here, 4 with the one with the pre-market, that's going to be a hard sell. Okay, so here's our lines right here and right here. Okay, 596.23. Be a nice breakout to the upside. 593.17, nice breakout to the downside. Okay, and again, I would expect a visit to the bottom of the prior consolidation. close to 583. We may not get there today. It may take a couple days to get there. We'll see what happens, all right? So that's the plan this morning, okay? So you're going to have red erases green underneath 593, okay? Red erases green underneath 593. You're going to have green erases red, all right, over 596. So here we are, 593, 596. And they may just waffle back and forth all day. That's a possibility as well. Okay, so that's the plan for this morning. SPY over 596. Looking for calls. Under 593, I'm looking for puts. In between, kind of stay away from it. All right, that's it for me for this morning. I'll see you guys in about 35 minutes. Thank you, everybody. All right, and we'll get the market open, see what we can make for some profits this morning.